Hi. I'm really excited to be here. It's been a couple of years, and it's also been a couple of years since I've done a themed presentation. So how many of you remember like a past theme? Okay, there's a handful. I also heard Tim earlier was saying that like we all kind of think we're comedians, and I'll apologize ahead of time because I think I'm hilarious. Told people many times, they don't always agree with me. So you feel free to laugh at me, if not with me, with the little jokes that are in here. All right. Oh, okay, I don't think you can see the theme yet. And I think my font got a little screwed up, so bear with me. Does this give it away? Do you know yet? Okay. So I tried to find a movie that really fit with manufacturing, and if anybody's got ideas, let me know. I had a really hard time, so we're going with Ghostbusters, and I don't really even know why, except if you think manufacturing and you wonder who you're gonna call. Alaska MEP. So if you get one thing from today's presentation, remember, manufacturing, who are you gonna call? Alaska MEP. Okay, so I will start not with nerdy data, but I want to hear, since you just had lunch, we need to wake up, who are your favorite local manufacturers? Just holler them out, and I'll tell you if you're wrong.
Marathon.
Excellent, yes. Okay, next.
Everything bagels.
Yes, I have Everything Bagels in my car right now to take back to Anchorage because I can't get it otherwise. Who else? I heard the brewery. Who else? Airgas, nice. I like the diversity of manufacturers that you're coming up with. Anybody else? One more. Custom Seafoods. Yes, I saw the back of your head earlier. I was wondering, Summer used to be on our board when she was with Custom Seafoods. We were so sad that she left Custom Seafoods. Okay, so one thing that I think that this nicely illustrates is just the diversity of manufacturing, not just in Kenai, but kind of in Alaska as a whole. And I think when we think of manufacturing in Alaska, we often, most of the crowds I talk to just think about seafood processing. It really dominates. You can see the data here. The dark dots are seafood processing. It dominates the discussion of manufacturing. And it's not all that we manufacture, and I think you guys know that better than really any other borough or census area in the state. And you have one of the more diverse economies across Alaska, so I think it all kind of feeds together when we think about your economy, what's going on, and then specifically manufacturing and the diversity therein. So other manufacturing's here in yellow, and it's not been an easy road for manufacturing. Like, again, when we think about it, we kind of think like it's small, it doesn't grow much, and there's not a lot we can do with manufacturing. It is difficult, and it hasn't done well for the last decade or so. You can see seafood processing has come down, and anything that's not seafood processing has really just been kind of stable until pandemic. And if we actually look at the the revised 21 numbers, they actually started to tick up just a bit. And when we look forward to 2022 and we look at the Department of Labor's forecast, they're actually forecasting growth in manufacturing both at a statewide level and at an Anchorage level. They don't forecast Kenai, never have, advocated for it for years. I used to make you guys your own special forecast, and I only did that for manufacturing this year because who are you gonna call? No, one person had it. One person. Okay, we will improve by the end of the presentation. So the statewide forecast is for 600 jobs increase in manufacturing statewide. That's about 5%. Anchorage, another 5%. That's about 100 jobs. I suspect that the Kenai will be the same since you're kind of a microcosm of the state's economy as a whole. I think that it's safe to assume you'll go about in the same direction. So 5% growth would be about 50 jobs, which isn't much, but it's nothing to sneeze at. We just heard that a solar farm may bring 30 to 40 jobs?
40 to 60.
40 to 60. So we're right in the same range in looking at manufacturing for next year. Okay, and then we did our own survey of manufacturers at the MEP, and we asked them what they needed. We exist to help manufacturers. I kind of glossed over that. But we're in the university, we're in the Business Enterprise Institute at UAA. We're also a federal program. There's one of us in all 50 states plus Puerto Rico. And our purpose, our reason for being, is to help advance manufacturers and manufacturing as a whole in our state. And So we can't do that if we don't know what people need. So we ask them what they need. And one of the most interesting things I thought was, and I won't read this to you, I think you can glean from it everything you need to, but the focus was on growth. We weren't talking to manufacturers who said, oh, I really need help, everything's doom and gloom and going downhill. We talked to manufacturers and they said, I need new products. I need to increase my sales. People want it, but I can't figure out how to get it to them fast enough. I need help with supply chains because I can't get my bagels to Anchorage where this bigger market is. I need help with my process improvement. I have opportunities to grow, but I want to make sure that as I grow, I don't take wasted time and energy and product and just expand and grow that with me. That will kill your business. So that's why I wanted to share this, is to share with you the needs of manufacturers in our state so that when you go around and talk to others, you can now understand what our manufacturers need and help to advocate for that industry and for those businesses that you all shouted out that you love. Okay, statistically important brain breaks. When we are learning something new or we just had lunch, it's important to take a break to absorb. So this is statistically important that you do this. Read, laugh. It's better if you can laugh about it, or at me, either one. Oh. So in my font, I actually downloaded a Ghostbusters font. All of the O's are little Ghostbuster symbols. You're missing out. I can see it on my notes here. It's a sad day for you. Okay, so a very wordy slide about what we do, and I'll try to make it a little bit simpler. I'm not going to read it to you. And a quote from somebody that we've worked with. I've got them sprinkled throughout, and I'm not going to read those to you either because you're highly capable individuals. But we provide assistance to manufacturers really on 3 levels: at a one-on-one, in a group setting, and then industry as a whole, where we kind of educate, advocate, do this kind of thing. The one-on-one stuff is we meet with a manufacturer and they say, I need a new product. I have an idea, I have a new flavor, and I need help getting it to market. Or it's, hey, I have openings, and maybe this is new to you guys. I can't get people to work for me. I can't retain my staff. This is new, right? Nobody else has this issue. It's just the manufacturers that we work with who are having trouble hiring people. So we hear that. We help them with that. Depending on the type of manufacturer, you might need really specific certifications in order to actually sell your product. If you're in aerospace and you don't have an AS9100 certification, your product probably isn't going very far. So we help people get those certifications. We do the legwork for them. We connect them with somebody and they just do the work to get the certification. The group support comes in a couple of different ways, but the one that we've done the most work with and we've really found the most success with, and I've got a couple of quotes coming up that I'll let you guys read, is the Do It With You cohorts. We bring 4 manufacturers together on a variety of topics. We have e-commerce, we have lean manufacturing, we have supply chain management, and they learn and bounce ideas off of 4 other manufacturers to figure out how to improve their sales, how to actually work, how to sell a manufactured product, even if it's business to business, online. Like, how do you sell wire rope online? Do you go online and just Google wire rope? Yes, you do. We all Google everything. Everything. And if you think that because you're business to business, nobody's Googling you and you don't need a decent website, you don't need to be on LinkedIn and social media, you are absolutely wrong. And so we help people in a group setting with that. We do the same thing with lean. How are you going to be as efficient as possible? If you make oatmeal, you need to make the most efficient damn oatmeal that you can, or you will not survive in Alaska. And so that's what we help people do. We walk through, we painstakingly split apart their oatmeal process or their beer brewing process, and we make it as efficient as possible. We remove 3 steps from this machine to that machine, and it saves them 2 hours over the course of a year. So we do those sorts of things. What was the other one? Supply chain management. Nobody's having issues with supply chain management in Kenai, right? On the peninsula? It's all good? Okay, so we help people figure out how can you make your personal supply chain as resilient as possible, but also as low cost as possible. And those 2 things don't always go together, but they don't have to be at direct loggerheads. And so that's what we take 6 to 8 weeks to go through. And our manufacturers start with something that's specific to their business, and they work on it that whole time, so that by the end of it, they don't just have something that they've learned over the last 6 weeks. They have a finished something that they've implemented in their business, whether it's efficiency or new suppliers that they've brought online, or it's a brand new website or new social media marketing campaign, those sorts of things. And I'm doing the industry support and outreach right now. I'm not going to talk about that. Client success. This is a fun one. So I talked a little bit about engineering as one of our one-on-one things that we do. Well, we have a relationship with College of Engineering at UAA, and we bring them all sorts of projects. We curate them a bit, and then we say, hey, I think this would be a good fit for you professors and for your students, because we know their specialties. And this was a really fun one. So we've got a salt producer down in Sitka, and it has to boil enormous amounts of water. It's incredibly energy intensive, and he wanted an alternative to using diesel to boil his salt water. They have hydro down in Sitka. He really wanted to be able to tap into it, but with his current process, he couldn't. So we gave this engineering problem to the College of Engineering, to some students there, and they did an amazing job of developing an entire new system for him to be able to then plug into the hydro system and boil the enormous amounts of water that he needs to, but tapping into hydro instead of diesel. He was thrilled, as you can tell. There's lots of exclamation points. Okay. Another brain break. If you don't remember what ecto-coolers are, sad, sad day when ecto-coolers went away. It was probably better for us all. It probably caused terrible, terrible cancer. Right? All good things. Okay, so I wanted to also give some very specific examples of projects that we've worked on. So if you make a food product, a beverage product, actually, lots of different things. Costco is often like the holy grail. If you can get into Costco, you have this enormous client, and now your only worry is how will you ever possibly keep up with the demand. That's a problem so many people want to have. I just want to be able to have so much demand that I struggle to keep up. It's an incredibly long process to get into Costco. They don't make mistakes. They don't bring in a product and go like, oh wow, this was terrible. It didn't last on my shelf. It fell apart when people used it and they returned it. They audit you from top to bottom, and especially if you are a food or beverage producer, they want to go over your process and safety over and over and over. And so we've worked with companies to bring in folks who used to be auditors for Costco who will now help you walk through that process to make sure that when they audit you, you pass the first time. Food safety and shelf stability testing. So some food safety stuff we can do in-state. If you have a product that's going to go from the refrigerated section to on the shelf, you need to make sure it can last on the shelf, that the quality doesn't go down so you don't go to taste it 6 months later and it's disgusting. And it's also safe. It hasn't grown botulism or anything else. And so we work with folks that are actually out of state, but we know where to go to get it done. So you don't have to do that legwork. And that's a lot of what we do. We do a lot of legwork so our manufacturers don't have to. They can save that time, money, energy, and just come to us and know how to get it done. Product development. So we had a really cool prototyping project where somebody needed some valve product development. They had the design, and they had about a week to get a prototype so they could put it into another component and actually sell it to somebody. And we were able to get that done. In Alaska, we were able to get somebody's product from design to prototype to sold in a week, which is pretty outstanding. Growth planning. That's really all about the lean cohort. So we have a granola company that we've put through this who developed new product, increased their sales pretty dramatically, and saved about $10,000 over the course of a year by leaning up their process, by reducing the amount of waste that they had throughout their relatively small process. They were able to save $10,000 on an annual basis. And the big one with growth planning is demand documentation. We all think, if I could just make more, then I could sell it. Costco would come. But you really have to be sure that if you open up another facility, another shift, that the demand is there. And so that's part of the lean cohort as well, is making sure that we document your demand before we encourage you to scale up and might end up encouraging you in a way that actually isn't best for your business. Automation. This is another one of my favorite projects, and Summer might remember this. So we had a client come in, and they have a process that involves highly, highly corrosive liquids. And it was so corrosive that every time he tried to automate, the switch would fail. And so instead, he would wake up every 3 hours throughout the night to go flip a switch, and he'd go back to bed. And as one can imagine, if you have to wake up multiple times a night, it's painful. And so after years of waking up night after night, he was connected with somebody who's used to dealing with the oil and gas industry and is used to dealing in very corrosive environments, said, hey, I got a switch for that. I can automate that, no problem. It's actually pretty cost effective. And they were able to connect, and now he can sleep through the night for the first time. And I can't remember how long. It was a painfully long time that he hadn't slept. And so in that case, we didn't really save him a lot of money, but he actually got to sleep for once, which I think is pretty valuable. E-commerce. I've got a quote coming up from a company that we work through on e-commerce, but she'd spent years as a solopreneur trying to be everything to everyone. She has a dog treat company. And when you ask her, who's your main customer, her answer was anybody who has a dog. And that's way too many people. If you have ever tried to market to people, one table, there's 6 different ways to market to one table in this room. So saying my ideal customer is anybody who's got a dog is just too big. And so we were able to work with her through one of those 6-week cohorts, and she was able to figure out, no, really my key customer is not just somebody who has a dog, but someone who's in Alaska and has a dog. I'm gonna narrow it down to Alaskans. And then I'm gonna narrow it down to a certain income requirement, because their dog treats aren't cheap. And on and on and on, until she had a very specific customer that she's now been very successfully marketing to and getting increased sales from. So that's a big component of what we do. We think of manufacturing and assisting manufacturers as really just process driven. We just go in, we change a widget and that sort of thing. But when we help our manufacturers, we go from soup to nuts with the help that we give them. And then cybersecurity, we had a client come to us and say, I'm a subcontractor to a DoD prime, and they just told me that if I don't comply with these cybersecurity requirements, they're gonna drop me. And so we have a lot of cybersecurity folks that we work with, and we're able to bring them on, and they could walk through the process. It's not easy, but at least they won't lose their DoD contracts, and that can be big, big, big business for people. Okay, right there, it should, imagine if this was a little Ghostbuster symbol. Just imagine it. Isn't it glorious? It's the little things. So we've only been in operation for 2.5 years. We haven't been around very long, so our metrics aren't huge, but I wanted to share them because we actually are doing things as the Alaska MEP. We have had impacts. We are helping manufacturers. And when you think about manufacturers, or if you are a manufacturer and you think, oh, should I call them? Who are you gonna call? Should I? Yes, we actually can offer results. We actually can help people. So I won't belabor it, but 49 manufacturers, 52 projects. We actually have 13 new projects starting at the end of January. And then you can see the new sales, retained jobs, investment, et cetera. Oh no, I pressed a button that made it stop buttoning. I think it was me. I think I pressed the wrong, okay. So this is the lady I was talking about before. Daisy Nicholas is the owner of Drool Central. And it's an adorable and very tasty, according to my dog treat company. And this is what she had to say about the e-commerce cohort. And I'll let you read that, because you're highly capable. So if you need dog treats, I have somebody for you. I have connections. Yeah, you're right. I think it did die. Sad little. Okay, so we can't do this alone. We absolutely don't do it alone. We have lots of collaborations, KPEDD being one of our most treasured collaborations. But we collaborate with both state government. I saw Matt Vignani in here. Now, oh, he's gone. But we collaborate with State of Alaska. We collaborate with SBDC. Robert over there, SEC. We have all sorts of wonderful collaborations, both inside the university. I mentioned we're a university, but also outside. And then, but why? Why do we need these collaborations? Well, part of it is because we're a federal program. So we have to match all the federal money that comes in. But we also do it because of outreach. Our little office is about 2.5 people. We have myself, one more person, and then we have a student. We might get her full-time next year. But so we're really small. We can't possibly reach all 600 to 1,000 manufacturers in the state of Alaska. It is a very reasonable goal, however, that by the end of, say, 5 years, every manufacturer in Alaska should know that we exist. That doesn't seem unreasonable to me, but we can't do that alone. And if we don't have every manufacturer know that we exist, then we can't help them. And that's the sole purpose for our being. So that's one of the biggest things, is just making sure that people know that we exist. But we also collaborate by actually offering services through our partners, and then being able to advocate for the industry as a whole, not just individual manufacturers making referrals, those sorts of things. But as a university entity, we can't go to our politicians and say, hey, you should develop this project for manufacturers. We can educate them about manufacturing, but our partners do a lot of that for us. They actually advocate to policymakers for manufacturer needs. And then the free and discounted services. We had relationships and have relationships with Anchorage Municipality and Fairbanks Borough, where they actually gave money to sponsor courses for manufacturers. So all the manufacturers that are going to go through the cohorts coming up at the end of January, they don't have to pay anything because the Anchorage Municipality paid for it, and Fairbanks paid for their folks to take e-commerce courses. So we've got some of those collaborations as well. Yeah. Okay. So everything isn't fantastic, but at the end of the day, things I think are looking up. I think they're looking up for manufacturing, but I also think when we look at our economy as a whole, things are hopefully, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. When I look at the forecast for the state as a whole, it looks like we are going towards recovery. We might not be, well, we're definitely not there yet, and it might not be swift, but at least that's the direction that we're going. So we might not have unlicensed nuclear accelerators on our backs. It'd be cool if we did, but I think we can do this. I think collectively we can come together and continue to grow and diversify our economy. And manufacturing is a key piece of diversifying our economy. We can't be solely reliant on a handful of industries, funding sources, et cetera. And making things in Alaska, whether we buy them locally, whether we export them to the lower 48 or for a different country, it drastically improves our economy. Manufacturing jobs are well-paid jobs. They're nice middle-income, stable jobs. And so the more we can encourage manufacturing and grow manufacturing in our state, the better off we'll be. If you have a need and you don't know who to call, next one, right? Next one. Who are you going to call? That was pretty good. That was decent. I was hoping you would yell it like a battle cry, but I appreciate it. Thank you very much.